Hello, everybody. Happy Friday afternoon. Hope yours is going well. We've got another Seahawks video to get to today, but first, we just hit 3,200 subscribers to the YouTube channel. I want to give a shout out to all the subscribers, and a special tip of the cap goes to the channel members, especially elite channel members Brendon, Mikel, Hasher for MVP, VGK Tiger 75, Ryguy, Salacious Crumb, Brendan Nelson's Haircut, TVO, It's Hoof, The Reno, 12th Man, Austin Roberts, and Scott Todd. So, time for the next position of clear and obvious need for the Seahawks. And this is one we might be able to kick the can down the road on by a little bit, but I think in order to play it safe, we may want to look at addressing it now. We don't want the house to be on fire before we buy house insurance. So, left tackle. Now, this is going to be a little complicated to maneuver, so I'll try to explain what I mean when we go through these players, but sometimes it's hard to know whether or not a tackle prospect is going to play left tackle or right tackle in the NFL. We can guess based off what they did in college. We can guess based off their frame, based off their play style, but sometimes we just can't know what these guys are going to do in the NFL. Sometimes guys fail at left tackle and move to right and then end up playing really well. And sometimes the opposite is true. Sometimes players start at right tackle and move to left. So as we look at these prospects, keep in mind that the possibility of them playing in a different position in the NFL exists. However, this is not the worst problem in the world for us to have because we kind of need help at both tackle spots. Regardless, for the purpose of this video series, I will be breaking out prospects into two categories, left tackles and right tackles, with my best guess on where they project to play in the NFL. So if you don't see the prospect you like here, it might be because I listed them as a right tackle. So just wait a couple days and you'll probably see them. So anyway, beyond that, left tackle, Shane Waldron's offense likely to require a good deal of mobility and agility from a left tackle. I think this is basically what I said about center as well. So it's the same kind of thing. We want a center who is athletic, who is mobile, who can play in space. Those are the traits that I think Shane Waldron will value. Also, looking for someone who has a chance to be NFL ready in 2021, as Duane Brown is somewhat unlikely to make it through a full season. We are playing with fire with Duane Brown. There's no way around it. We can all hope and cross our fingers, but realistically, people of his age with his burgeoning knee problems typically do not make it through a full 16-game season unscathed. However, unless disaster strikes, whoever we get at left tackle should be able to have a full year of development and coaching before being asked to play significant time. So, with that in mind, we have a little bit of a narrow tightrope to walk, but let's go ahead and get started with left tackle prospect number 1. Dylan Radnuns of North Dakota State, the Bison. And this is a guy who not only could potentially start year 1 at left tackle if he had to, but he could also potentially take Brandon Shell's job from him because I think he's really good. 23 years old. If you want to know one of the reasons why Trey Lance was so dominant last year for North Dakota State, this is one of the reasons. He had a great left tackle with him. 6'6", 304 pounds, 5.1640, so nice combination of size and speed for a left tackle. Probably a little out of our reach, unfortunately. Pro Football Focus says he's going to be a late first. Draft Network says early second. Tankathon, PFN, and Sporting News all say mid-second. The only sites that I found that give us a realistic chance of grabbing him with our first pick is ESPN and Walter Football. They think he's going to be a third rounder, actually, on the whole. So this guy is a great tackle prospect. He's got good mobility. He's a good athlete for a player of his size. He's got an excellent record as a run blocker. He's got a mean streak to match. I watched some highlights of him, and he knows how to push guys out of the play. He knows how to use his strength, and he knows how to play in space, at least at the college level. I saw him chasing Trey Lance down and making blocks 30 yards down the field on Trey Lance scrambles on more than one occasion. Now, just because he can do it doesn't mean he doesn't need to develop a little bit. He will need some development as a second level blocker. He probably does need to iron out a couple of kinks in his game in that regard. And he might need to get a little stronger. Fortunately, he has the frame to put on more weight if he needs to. Putting on an additional 15 to 20 pounds should not be a problem for a dude who is 6'6". So if he ends up being a little too weak to cut it at tackle in the NFL, he can put on a little more weight. And he has a little bit of speed to spare, so I think he can handle it. Final note is he could end up at right tackle in the NFL. We don't know yet. He played left tackle in college, but there exists the possibility that he'll end up being a better right tackle in the NFL. Again, not a big problem for us because we might need a new right tackle after 2021. Shell's going to be a free agent. But something to keep in mind, it's not yet set in stone where he's going to be playing in the NFL. But this is an excellent tackle prospect, either way you slice it. I think he's probably going to go in the early to mid-second, but if he slips to 56, I might be tempted to not trade back. I might be tempted to just go with it. Go with Dylan Radnun's. Take him, groom him to be the replacement to Duane Brown, and you got yourself some good depth going into 2021 on top of it. So that's prospect number one of my favorites, one of the guys I would take at 56 with no trade backs. But this next guy, I think I like a little better. So let's go to prospect number 2. Samuel Cosmi of the Texas Longhorns. This is my favorite left tackle in this draft, and another guy I would full stop be willing to take at 56, no trade backs. Let's take a look here. 6'7", 300 pounds. He does probably need to add a little bit of weight. 4.85 40. This dude is faster than some tight ends, some pass-catching tight ends, by the way. This dude is probably faster than Colby Parkinson. 22 years old, still pretty young. Can we get this guy? It don't look good. I got to be honest here. Tankathon and the Sporting News say first-round pick. Walter Football thinks he'll be a first or a second rounder. Pro Football Focus says early second. Draft Network says mid to late second. ESPN says right, actually, where we are in the late second. And Pro Football Network says early third. I see Samuel Cosmi being an early second round pick with the potential to inflate up to the late first. But if he falls somehow, for some reason, if he ends up being there at 56, don't you dare trade back. You take him and you don't look back. Samuel Cosmi has a ton of experience at left tackle and right tackle, which is a plus for us. We don't know where we're going to need to play him as a rookie. It's kind of whoever gets hurt, Cosmi goes into play for, right? He's got a huge frame, which means there's plenty of room for him to put on more bulk. If he needs to add 20 pounds of muscle, he can do that. If he needs to just add some mass, he can do that. 6'7" gives him plenty of room to do it. He's great moving into the second level as a run blocker. Let me fix this real quick. Sorry about that. So he knows how to get to the second level as a run blocker. I watched some highlights of him. He's a nasty run blocker, especially for a dude of his relatively low weight. So he knows how to do that. He knows how to use his body position to create lanes in the running game. I saw him do a lot of that at Texas. His length gives him a big advantage against pass rushers as well. This guy is the full package. This guy can pass protect. This guy can run block. He's a good athlete for his length. I mean, a 4.85 40 time speaks for itself. That is freaky good. As for some potential downsides, he does probably need to put on some strength, but that's not going to be a problem for this guy. I'm telling you guys, he has the frame for it. He does have a few technique issues that he overcomes at the college level with his athleticism that he'll need to work on. But you know what? He's going to get to play as a backup for at least most of his rookie year probably. So he's got time to work on it. He does need to learn how to get a little bit lower when he blocks. You guys know that when left tackles are tall, sometimes they play too tall and it becomes a problem. So he needs to learn how to get lower. He is a good candidate to start at right tackle for a year, maybe 2 years, and then transition to left. So that's fine. That's obviously fine for us because we're not going to need a left tackle, ideally, until 2022. But look for him to maybe start his career as a right tackle. So that's Samuel Cosme. Great fit for his zone blocking scheme. Great fit for what I think Waldron's trying to do here. He would just fit right in with what I think this offense is going to turn into in 2021. So that's prospect number 2. Let's go to prospect number 3. Alex Leatherwood of Alabama. And now we're getting into guys who I have a little less gas for. This guy's great, don't get me wrong. But I don't know if I would take him at 56. I might take him at 64 or 65, right at the back end of the second or the start of the third. But now we're getting to guys that I would not be too angry about missing out on if we traded back. So Alex Leatherwood, he's 22 years old, from Alabama, the Crimson Tide, national champions. 6'5", 312 pounds, 4.9640. So pretty damn fast for a left tackle. 312-pounder who can run a sub 540. That's pretty rare. That's good, man. As for whether or not he'll be there for us, it's not looking great once again. This is another guy who I expect to go in the middle of the second round. He's got first to second round value on Walter. A lot of these sites, PFN, Tankathon, Pro Football Focus, think he'll be an early second. Sporting News and ESPN say late second. Draft Network says early third. I think he's probably going to be a mid-second rounder, but I don't totally know what position he's going to play in the NFL, so that could cost him. This guy might be a guard in the NFL. It's hard to be sure yet. I feel like his athleticism and speed should be enough to get him in at tackle in the NFL, but some people think he's going to end up being a guard. He played tackle and guard at Alabama. He did both. I think he played left tackle and right guard for Alabama, so there's a reason to believe that he might end up one or the other in the NFL. He's got a big frame already, 312 pounds, very nice. He's able to use his strength to win in the running game, and he's also very effective as a pass protector. He's got a clean all-around talent set. He's just a solid all-around left tackle prospect. He can pass block and run block. If you put a gun to my head, I would say this guy's going to be a tackle in the NFL just because his pass blocking abilities would be somewhat wasted if he actually had to move to guard. And I feel like he can do it. He does have some issues getting outsmarted by crafty pass rushers. He is somebody who definitely uses his raw talent more than he does the cerebral side of the game. And that's something he may have to work on in the NFL. He is a little bit stiff in his movement despite being a pretty decent overall athlete. So even though he has the good 40 time, there are some athletic concerns about him, which has a yellow flag for me. Not a red flag, but a yellow flag. And final yellow flag would be he might be a guard in the NFL. I personally think he can play tackle. I do. I think his relative athleticism for his size and his pass protecting skill makes him good enough to be a tackle in the NFL, but only time will tell. So that's Alex Leatherwood. He would definitely be a tackle prospect I would be happy to get, but probably not where a lot of these websites have him ranked. So honestly, if we got to pick 56 and Alex Leatherwood was there, I would be okay taking him, but I would also be okay trading back. Not 100% sure on this guy quite yet. Either way, that is prospect number 3. Let's go to prospect number 4. Walker Little of Stanford. And this is a guy you could trade back into the third round and very reasonably expect to be able to draft still. 22 years old, Stanford, 6'7", 309 pounds. He's a big boy even for this position, and he runs a 4.8140. Another athletic freak. And because of that athletic freakness, Pro Football Focus loves Walker Little. They think he's going to be a mid to late first round pick. But everyone else thinks he's going to be a third rounder, basically. A Tankathon, ESPN, Pro Football Network. And then Walter Football thinks he'll be a third to fifth. And Draft Network actually thinks he's going to be a fifth or sixth, which, yeah, I don't see it. But I do think he will be there for us in the second and maybe even the third round. I expect Walker Little to be a third round pick. And if you can trade back into the third round and still have a shot at Walker Little, I'm all over it. He's big and strong, and he's got great length on top of his giant frame. So size is not an issue for Walker Little. He should be great at protecting against elite pass rushers on the edge just because of his length and ability to keep speed rushers from getting around the edge on him while still able to use his strength to handle the bull rushers. He's also a good athlete for his size, which is reflected in his pass protection. This guy does not let his size get in the way of his ability to be a good athlete. He's got strong hands. He also is a very smart player, as a lot of the players who pass through Stanford are. He has the vision and the intelligence to identify rushes and quickly adapt to handle them. One downside with Walker Little, and I would be amiss to not point this out, he isn't much of a run blocker. He, I don't know if he's bad, but he certainly doesn't flash very much as a run blocker. He's not somebody who's going to push his man 10 yards down the field to open up a run lane. He's a pass protector first and foremost, which I'm cool with because as a left tackle, pass protection is the most important thing you're doing. But it would be fair to say that he's not much of a run blocker. He also hasn't played in 2 years because of injuries. That's probably the biggest red flag you can put on this guy. If this guy had played the last 2 years, I think he would be a first round pick or very close to one. But because he didn't play the last 2 years, you do have that concern of, can this guy still do it? But you also have the opportunity to draft him much later than his talent would typically have him go. So I love Walker Little. I don't think I would take him in the second, but you better believe that if we end up trading back, I would take him in the third. I'd be very happy about it. I see this guy as a project that could start by year 2, which is more or less exactly what we need. All right, that's prospect number 4. Let's go to our final prospect today. Again, today we were just looking at left tackle prospects who project to go from the 2nd to the 3rd or 4th round. So final guy I like, James Hudson of Cincinnati, the Bearcats. Young, 21 years old. 6'4", 302 pounds, not huge, but big enough. 5.3440, so we are talking about somebody who's a little less fleet of foot, but good enough to play left tackle in the NFL, I think, still, because he does have the attributes you're looking for in that area regardless. So Walter Football thinks he'll be a 2nd or 3rd round pick. ESPN, Tankathon, Pro Football Network, and Pro Football Focus say mid-3rd rounder. Draft Network says late 4th rounder. I think this guy's going to be a 3rd rounder. Another guy who I wouldn't mind trading back to get. He has the combination of talent and mental fortitude to be a stud left tackle in the NFL. Big size, good length, powerful, mobile. He's the full package. I know he's not as big or as strong or as tall as some of the other guys we were looking at. You can tell that just by looking here. And he's not as fast, but he uses his limited speed well. So he's mobile enough to play in a zone scheme, I think, despite a pretty bad 40 time for a left tackle, honestly. He only had 1 year of college football experience, which makes him a developmental project, but that's okay because we have starters locked in for 2021 for the moment anyway, so we can live with that. Probably won't be part of a starting NFL lineup until year 3. Now, that's not ideal because we kind of need help in the next year. Sometime in the next 2 years, we will probably need help at tackle. However, maybe he develops faster than expected. It happens. And final note, some believe he projects to right tackle. It seemed pretty split when I was looking things up on James Hudson. Some people think he's going to be an NFL left tackle. Some people think he'll be a right tackle. It seemed pretty split. So we'll have to see. Again, if he projects to right tackle in the NFL, that's fine. We can work with that. We can live with that. No problem. But yeah, those are the top left tackle prospects as I see it. These are the guys we could get in the 2nd round, 3rd round, or 4th round. I like Samuel Cosmi the most. I also really like Walker Little as kind of a steal. But these are guys who might not help the Seahawks in 2021 immediately, but it's very easy to imagine them helping us later in the season. And as we move forward past 2021, you better believe one of these 5 guys could have a big hand in this team going as far as possible in future seasons. So those are 5 prospects. Tomorrow we're going to look at the sleepers, 5th round, 6th round, 7th round UDFA left tackles who we could go after. But I'm going to get out of here for now. Peace out. Go Hawks. See you guys in stream in a little bit. What do you guys think? Who do you guys like? Who do you want to draft? Did I miss anybody? Who are your favorites? Let me know down in the comments. And peace out. Go Hawks.